everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Social Z podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Calvin Smith. Today I am in beautiful Destin, Florida. The sun is shining, and I'm hoping to get out to the beach before the sun goes down today. So happy to talk to Mr. Doug Wotten, coming from the state of Virginia. Doug, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you, Calvin?
Good, good. How are things up in Virginia? Are you guys getting some spring weather? Is it still cold? How are things up there?
Yeah, no, it's picked up. We in March here in Virginia, it goes up and down. So you definitely we had some 80-degree days, and then it snowed about an inch and a half a couple days later. So that's kind of typical for Virginia.
Sure, sure. Well, Doug, we'll get going here in a second. I do got to ask you, we're in the mix of March Madness. I know you went to James Madison, but is there anyone you're following in the tournament right now?
No, I think I became a surrogate Texas Longhorns fan too. I lived in Austin for about 5 years, so I became a fan of them, and they didn't make it past the last round. So I don't really have a dog in the race anymore, I don't think. So I do enjoy watching it, though. I'll be watching the games tonight, and yeah, I'll just root for the underdogs at this point, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a Arkansas grad, and so I'm hoping they pull off a miracle against Gonzaga tonight. So we'll see. We'll see. But
Yeah, good luck.
yeah, well, to kick us off, Doug, we'll ask you to go through some rapid fire questions here. The first one is give us your name, location, and name of your business.
Sure. Well, my name's Doug Wotten. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. We're right in the central part of Virginia, and I run a franchise called Shack Shine.
Awesome. And how long has your location of Shack Shine been in business, and what does your staff look like right now, Doug?
I've been open for a little over a year now, and I have 3 full-time staff.
Perfect. And I'm not real familiar with the Shack Shine model. So your staff now, are they sales guys, technicians? What does that model look like for you?
Yeah, they're all technicians. I'm still the only sales guy at this point. That's primarily my role, sales and of course administration. So yeah, they're on the van, doing all the house detailing that we do.
Perfect, perfect. And Doug, what did you do before you got into franchising?
So my background was accounting and finance. Yeah, so I have an accounting degree from JMU, and that's pretty much what I did for the next 25 years or so. Most recently, before this, I was actually managing an accounting firm here in Richmond, Virginia.
Gotcha. So you went from accounting to being an entrepreneur and a full-time salesperson and business owner and everything else. How's that transition been? What are the things that you feel like you've excelled at? What are some of the things that you're surprised you're struggling with?
It was really it was kind of a gradual growth for me. Everything that I did before this led me to this point, really. One of the things, not only did I manage this accounting firm, but I did a lot of consulting for small businesses. So I consulted with small, mid-sized businesses, help them grow more efficiently, help them make more profits, help them grow to that next level. When do we need to hire employees? When do we need to expand? All of those things, helping them get through that. So I worked with a lot of businesses in a lot of different industries. And so doing that really kind of prepped me to when, the time came for me to decide what I wanted to do. And when I was looking at other franchises and I looked at a bunch of different things, and they were very different in even the type of franchises they were and what my role would have been in them. So it set me up right that, I knew how to look at a business model and say, is this a good business model or not? I felt anyway. And so, as soon as I saw Shack Shine, I knew this was a good business model.
What was it about Shack Shine? What are the particular things where you said, hey, this is the one for me?
Yeah, well, the main thing, I think, certainly the services that we offered, we do window cleaning, we do power washing, we do gutter cleaning, and then we also hang Christmas lights on people's houses. So that's a lot of different things. There are a lot of companies that do 1 or 2 of those things, but you don't find many that do all of those things. And the way that the franchisor, ended up labeling this was they coined the term home detailing. Kind of like you get your car detailed, this is what we do to people's homes. So I really like that idea, the fact that you can do all of these either in one visit or it's one company that a client can call, throughout the year for all these different things. I really like that model. Plus, they really focused on the market, the high end market. So we're a premium brand. We're focused on high-end clientele. We're not trying to, serve everybody out there, because everybody needs some window cleaning or power washing, but not everybody's willing to pay the premium rates for it. So we're in really nice neighborhoods, working on really nice, typically large homes. And I really like that model too. Again, that goes back to my consulting business. The companies that I worked with and I helped consult with, when they were focusing on that market, I had some customers focus on that market, that high-end market. They typically did really well.
Doug, with your background, one of the things that we see a lot of that franchisees struggle with early on is keeping up with the administrative piece of it, and particularly the financial piece, managing the books every month, things like that. Do you feel like your background in consulting and finance has helped you with that, or is it something that you're still struggling with because you're so busy doing the million other things it takes to run a business?
Yeah, I definitely think it helped. Not only to be able to do that, I'm still doing my own bookkeeping for my business, but I know I'll let go of it at some point. I will be too busy, and I know I spent a lot of years working for an accounting firm, telling people they should let go of their bookkeeping and let us do it, and all the reasons why. So there are definitely good reasons, but also because I know it so well. And that it allows me to really know the bones of the business and what's going on in it. I'm still doing that myself, but I absolutely plan on letting that go at some point. But having that financial background allows me to really look at the numbers and understand what they mean and make adjustments to the business as I'm going along. Yeah, that's been really helpful for me.
Sure. What are the things that you're looking at and are you looking at them on a monthly basis, a weekly basis? How often are you really doing an analysis on your financials at this point? And, what are the KPIs that you try to pull from that to kind of tell you where your business is going?
Sure. Um, I definitely do a really thorough look through at the end of every month, but I'm looking on a weekly basis. We're setting goals. I have goals of sales goals, revenue goals, average sales per job goals, closing rate, on the sales and all that stuff. So I'm looking at all of that through the week for various reasons. As I'm doing quoting, and make sure that I'm still on target with how I'm quoting and making sure I'm doing that right to get the margins that I'm looking for. Make sure my guys are performing the way they should be. If they didn't, we have a budget for every single job, a time budget of what they should it should be done in. And so if they don't meet that budget, I'm talking to them. It may be a very good reason, but we're having that conversation of okay, maybe I quoted it wrong, or maybe there was something with that job that just took much longer than we expected. Those kinds of things. So on a daily basis, I look at where that job finished as far as how we budgeted or the jobs that we did that day. And so, there are usually KPIs involved with sales and revenue. Those are the main things. And then, like I said, by the end of the month, I'm looking at more things like your gross profit and the net and all of those kinds of things. Make sure that we're on track there.
Doug, you mentioned you've got the three technicians now, and you're the main sales guy. How difficult has the past year been for you on growing your team? Are you having difficulty finding people to join the team? Or what's your situation from staffing right now? Because I know a lot of people would love to hire, a ton of people, they just can't find them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely been my biggest challenge for the past year. It's been rough, and I'm trying different things. And I mean, one of the great things about Shack Shine also is, and what attracted to me to them in the beginning, was this community of other owners that I have access to and I've already made friends with. I mean, I think the corporate office really facilitates communication between the owners. We have, Google Hangouts that people are a part of, so we can see chat sessions and ask questions. But all of the owners are really cool as far as if you want to just call somebody up or email them and say, hey, can we chat about how you handle this kind of thing or that kind of thing? Really, really helpful. But that's been one of my biggest struggles, is finding good employees. It's been pretty frustrating, I have to say. People that want to work, and then people, I couldn't believe how many people didn't show up for their first day of work. I had 3 or 4 last year that didn't even show up for their first day of work, and then you just completely ghosted, and didn't hear from them. So that's by far been my biggest struggle.
Sure, absolutely. Let's go back a little bit, Doug. You mentioned your background as a consultant in finance, things like that. What was the thought process, or what happened in your life where you decided, hey, now's the time that I'm going to go and do this on my own? And then when you made that decision, why did you decide specifically to go into franchising?
So yeah, it's a good question, and there's definitely a story behind all of that. So honestly, it wasn't I was kind of forced into the situation. So the accounting firm, I started working with this gentleman that owned the accounting firm, and he was working out of his home. Um, and I started working with him, but I never had any ownership of the business. Helped him grow it for about 8 years up to being a $2 million business, multiple locations. And a week before Christmas of 2019, he told me he was selling the business. And so we all got that notice. The new business did hire everybody. There was about 20, 22 of us at the time. They hired all of us, and then 3 months later, COVID hit. And so that new company let us all go at one time. I was probably on my way out anyway, just due to my position in the company and everything like that. I knew I probably wasn't going to be lasting there. But yeah, so that was kind of forced upon me. Luckily, I was in a position financially that I didn't have to run out and get another job right away, that I was able to kind of hunker down, spend more time with my kids, and just decide what I wanted to do. And I knew I was going to take at least 2 months and just chill, and hang out and decide what I wanted to do. So once I actually started thinking about what I was going to do next, definitely wasn't tied to accounting anymore. I was fine. I thought I could do anything, but I knew whatever I was going to do, it was going to be mine. It was going to be my business. That's I'm not going through that again. And I just felt like I was ready. All this time working for other people and consulting with these other business owners, just watching them start and grow their businesses, I just felt like it was my time. And so I actually started looking for businesses for sale in the Richmond area. That's where I started, and talked to a broker that way, and he immediately turned me on to what I would call a broker, a business coach, or a broker that talks to a lot of franchises. So I said, all right. I had never liked the idea of a franchise, just from what I knew. I think, why would I pay money off the top to somebody when I could just do it myself? So that was always my initial thought, or that was my view of franchises. But this guy was great. I mean, I took personality tests. He really wanted to get to know me, not just, here, let me throw a bunch of stuff at you and see what you like. It was, get to know me. What do I want to do? What do I envision my role in a business being? All that stuff. And then he ran a few different scenarios by me, and we looked into some businesses. And I mean, again, almost immediately, I really like the Shack Shine business model. I like the people that I talked to within the organization. I like their culture, the way they thought of business in general, and its mix in the community and family and all that stuff. I really liked that. So yeah, that's kind of my story.
Doug, what is the story of Shack Shine? How many locations are there? How long have they been in business, and where are they based out of?
Sure. So they're based out of Vancouver, actually. It's the same guys who started 1-800-GOT-JUNK about 30 years ago. You may have heard of Brian Scudamore and Shack Shine, or and 1-800-GOT-JUNK. It's the same group. So he started a group called O2E Brands. And so Shack Shine's been around 7, maybe 8 years at this point. I'm trying to think how many. I mean, we're talking probably upwards of 60 franchises at this point, and I'd say probably close to half of them are still in Canada. So they're based out of Vancouver, so they still have a lot of presence in Canada. But I think they started 10 or 15 new franchises last year, and they're on track to probably open more than that this year. So it's a brand that's really taken off. That was another thing that really attracted me to Shack Shine, was the timing of it. At the time when I'm researching it, it was about 4 or 5 years in, so I knew there were enough businesses that had already gone through enough growth pains that I could learn from them without maybe not having to go through all of them. But I was still getting in early on the business, where it was still an unknown, entity. And certainly in Virginia, I was the first one to bring it to Virginia. Nobody had heard of Shack Shine here, and I actually like that. As opposed, some people might be afraid of that. They want to start with a brand that people know. I actually really like the idea of bringing a new brand to my city, and just like I want everybody to know this brand. So yeah, that actually motivated me. I actually really liked that part of it. So yeah, about 6, 7 years, and I would say probably close to 60 franchises at this point. They have a painting company also called Wow One Day Painting. So there's a few different franchises, all under kind of the same umbrella.
Sure, sure. Yes, I heard the guy who started, I guess, OT Brands and Brian at the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City. It's probably been, I don't know, 13 or 14 years ago. But he was sharing his story on how he started 1-800 Got Junk at that time, and just real energetic guy and great attitude. And it's awesome to see what they've built as a franchisor. So. Um, what's your plan with Shack Shine in your location now, and are you planning to expand to other locations, or what's your goals for the next 3 to 5 years with the brand?
That's a good question, and there are a lot of different ways that I can go with it. I'm not putting too much pressure on myself to go one way or the other. I'm a goal-oriented person, but probably more short-term goals. And I'd certainly thought of all of that as I looked at this brand too. So knowing that there were many options for me with this brand, that was important too. But knowing that I didn't need to make that decision now. So anyway, I definitely would like to. I've got 2 vans. I got a third one on the way. I can definitely see going to 4 or 5 vans easy, and really just owning the Richmond area. There's a city, not too far from here, about an hour away, called Charlottesville, where University of Virginia is. That would be a great location. So I would love to expand. There's nothing in the Virginia Beach area, which would be another great area. That's a little bit further away. So yeah, you never know. I definitely could see expanding this model. I mean, I think that highly of this brand and this business model, that I could see expanding it. But I'm really enjoying this process too, so of starting a new business and from scratch. So I could definitely see doing more of this in general, whether it's another brand or the same brand. Either way, I definitely have been enjoying the entrepreneurship world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Doug, if you could go back 12 months from now and talk to yourself, what do you wish you knew then that you know now? What have you learned over the past year that you feel like would have been a game changer over the last 12 months?
That's a tough one. I think, there's a lot of little things. I'm trying to think if anything would have been a game changer. I'm still working on the employee thing, that, finding the right employees. I think now that I've talked to some of the other franchise owners, I think maybe looking at a different profile of person, that I'm going after might help, but I'm still figuring that out myself. Other than that, it's mostly just little things. Again, I have a lot of confidence in running a business and understanding how that works, managing employees and all of that. I do have a lot of confidence with that. So it was really just me getting to know the business, the operational side of it, and how that works, and getting to know that, to do that the best that we can. I feel I've never done sales, but I've jumped right into that. I feel really comfortable doing that, because I don't even think of it as sales really. It's just customer relations, right? I like being out talking to people. So when you just kind of explain what we do and what we could help them with, it doesn't even feel like sales. You're just having a conversation.
Absolutely. On that note, Doug, what are you doing for personal development right now? There's always things as business owners we can do better at, but a lot of times we're so busy just getting through the day of the business that we don't have time to develop ourselves and kind of expand outside of the business. Is there anything that you're working on now to develop yourself personally, or do you have any goals for this year on that front?
Yeah, well, I'm always working on, I'd say probably 5, 6 years ago, I really got into positive psychology and reading a lot about that. And so I love themes behind that, and it's something I practice. Really within the last couple of years, all the craziness that's happened in the last couple of years, it's really tested a lot of my efforts there with learning the positive psychology. But that's always something I'm working on. I'm always reading about that kind of stuff. I'm always practicing. It's something you practice too, about looking, just so much about life is about perspective. Whether you have a good day or a bad day is all about perspective, because craziness is going to happen around you all the time. You have no control over that. And so, you've got to let go of that control and just look at the perspective. and being thankful for what you have. So, practicing gratitude, I teach my kids that stuff. It goes a long way, and it totally reframes how you look at the world, and that can make such a huge difference. So I'm always working on that. I'm always trying to share that with people as well, definitely with my kids, with my employees and things like that. So that's kind of my personal growth, and it's always going to be, just an ongoing thing.
Absolutely. Any books on that you would recommend?
Uh, Off the top of my head, I have a horrible memory, but The Happiness Advantage, I'm reading again for probably the fourth time. I cannot remember the author's name, but you look up The Happiness Advantage. He's a pretty well-known author, especially in that field. And he's got 4 or 5 books out there. Yeah, I'm horrible at remembering names of authors' books. There are a few out there though that are really good. Uh, and I know that the Book of Joy, which is another one, is a book with an interview with Desmond Tutu, and uh, uh, I can't remember who else is in that book. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot out there, and I'm always reading new books and trying to look at a new perspective on things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. Doug, you've mentioned your kids a few times. How do they feel about, your life now as a business owner, entrepreneur, and how has the last year of, developing this living business, impacted your personal life and your family life?
Yeah, it's I think I'm older, as far as compared to some of the other new owners in Shack Shine. I see there's some guys out there that are still in their 20s and stuff, and so I wonder how I would have done if at that age. I certainly didn't have as much experience and the perspective I have now. So I guess what I'm getting at is even through my other business before this, the work I used to do, I learned that I've got to keep perspective, and that my kids are super important to me, and that I've got to make time for them, that they're only going to be around for a limited time. So that was really important to me. And even going into this decision with Shack Shine and how I'm going to do this, I had to understand that it's certainly that first year that I'm not going to have as much time with them. And I talked to them about that as well. But there still has to be time for them. Like this, they're 16 and 12 right now, and those are times I don't have that much more time, honestly, with my daughter before she's out of the house here. And so setting time aside for them is super important to me. So having that work-life balance has always been really important to me, and so that I knew that I couldn't let that really change. Even once I became a business owner, and I knew it was going to get crazy. And there may be short periods of time where it does get really crazy, but I know it's not going to last, and and I got to rein it back in and let things go, and that's fine. If that slows my growth as a business, I'm okay with that too, especially now while my kids are here. That's what's most important to me is my kids, certainly.
Absolutely. That's great. Doug, last question for you. Hopefully this time next year, we're fortunate enough to talk to you again in 2023. When we have that conversation, what would be the one big goal for 2022 that you would have hoped to have accomplished?
Oh, let's see. I'm really, I'm looking at, I've got a goal of, I think it's 80% growth this year. So now it's on tape. So now I really have to back it up. But, that's my goal. I want to have a crew. My goals with this business from the beginning, and I tell everybody that I hire, my 2 main goals were: one, I want to be the best at what we do in town. I want everybody to know us as the best. And two, I want it to be an awesome place to work. I want people to be lining up waiting for us to hire another person. So those are my 2 goals. And I figure, financial success and those things will come. If I make those goals, that stuff will come. And that's the way I look at it. So, I want to keep building the crew that I have. I've got a great crew now, and I just want to keep adding to that and keep that culture the way it is right now as we expand. That's super important to me. So building and just growing and having more of what we have now, and expanding our footprint in Richmond, and like I said, having a bigger, greater crew than we even already have.
Absolutely. Well, Doug, those are great goals, and hopefully when we talk next year, we can celebrate those with you. But we really appreciate your time, Doug. It's been great to hear your story and to talk with you. And to anyone that's taken the time to listened to Doug and I's 20-minute conversation here. We really appreciate it and hope you join us next time on the Social Z podcast.